Hey Tarot friends, it's Dustin from Modern Metaphysical, and today I thought we could hang out and take a trip through the Luna Soul Tarot from Liminal 11. As always, down in the description box below, you will find links to where you can pick up this deck for yourself, as well as links to my social media where you can reach out and connect with me, and a link to my personal website where you can book a reading with me or even purchase some of my own handmade metaphysical goods. So be sure to check all of that out at the end of the video. So let's dive into this. Our friends over at Liminal 11 were gracious enough to send me a copy of the second edition of the Luna Soul Tarot for review. I have to admit that I was super bummed out that I missed the boat on this one when it first came out. The first edition of it, I don't know how I missed it, but I did. And when reviews started coming out and people started posting pictures on Instagram and stuff, I instantly fell in love with the amazing art style and color palette, as well as the fantastic amount of diversity that exists within this deck. And when I heard that they were doing a second edition, I reached out to the folks at Liminal 11 and asked if they would be willing to send me a review copy, and they graciously acquiesced to my request. So thank you so much to our friends over at Liminal 11 who sent this over for us to check out. So let's dive in. This deck comes in this amazingly beautiful box. I've never seen a deck come in this kind of a box design before. As you can see, there's fantastic, gorgeous art all over the box, and it opens, it's a hard box, and it opens at the bottom, and there's a nice little magnetic closure, and you get this just lovely Lewis Carroll quote. It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards, which I just loved. I do love me some good book references. And as you can see, it is a matchbook design. So on the inside of the outer box, you can see that there is lots of printing still on the inside, and it has like this really cool like perspective effect on the printing. So like the detail in this packaging is just it's amazing. So the matchbox that holds your cards and your book is also beautifully printed and very well crafted. And inside you will find your cards and your guidebook. Now, the guidebook is super awesome. It's this nice little hardcover book, and inside there's tons of great little info sections and blurbs about each of the cards and some sort of general information and things like that. This little guidebook is great. There's definitely some really interesting perspectives on the tarot and the cards, so I'd highly recommend checking it out. I also really loved the quotes that they had for each of the major arcana. The minor arcana, there's a little bit less information on, and so that was kind of disappointing, but you know, there's still some good little nuggets buried deep inside here. So be sure to check that out. There's also some spreads at the back and things like that. So pretty standard in terms of a little white book, other than the fact that it is full color, hardcover, and just immaculately presented and created. There's so much detail in this deck. I can't even get over it. It's just amazing. So nice, amazing little white book. Definitely check that out if you pick this up. The cards themselves, these are the card backs, which are just absolutely gorgeous. You have this beautiful starry night sky and sort of sunny, sunsetty day with this black and white symbol and the sun and the moon, and you get that real sense of duality, which I really like. The card stock is a really nice thick cardstock. It's got some good snap to it. The finish is papery matte, and it is amazing. It reminds me a lot of my Royal Fez Moroccan Tarot, which is a very old vintage, as you can tell from the back deck, and the cardstock just reminds me like a thicker version of this, but the finish is almost the same. In terms of size, as you can see, it is a standard tarot size, so nothing crazy or new there. And then the artwork itself is this just gorgeous, beautiful style. It's a very modern style, with just beautiful muted soft pastel colors, which I just really actually love. So let's do our full flip through, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what I love about the deck. So this is the Luna Soul Tarot by Liminal 11. So that is the Luna Soul Tarot second edition by Liminal 11, and I just really have been enjoying this deck. It's not an aesthetic. I think a lot of people will be like, "Whoa, this is a little outside your wheelhouse," and to be honest with you, like it's really appealing to me. It's very clean. It's very simple. I love the diversity in it, and the one thing that really drew me to this deck about its diversity is the fact that it's not a caricature. I think one thing that I've been seeing a lot of in the tarot world right now, with a lot of these decks trying to become more diverse, which is fantastic. We definitely need more of that, but it's a hard line to walk, and sometimes I feel like people, when they add diversity to their decks, it kind of comes off as a stereotype, as instead of just being genuinely diverse. And I think that this deck specifically really just is genuinely diverse. They do such a good job of just having real feeling people in these cards, and it feels natural, and it just works. It's so well done, and it's so well thought out. I'm sure, as you could tell, it definitely very closely follows the RWS tradition, but it definitely has a lot of nods to the Thoth as well as the Marseille, right? Like even here in the Fool, we have, the alligator make an appearance. So it's really cool to see that there's tons and tons of just amazingly beautiful symbolism hidden throughout these cards that I really love. This death card is just amazing. I love the heart growing, the flower growing out of his heart space with the bee, and there's just a lot to this, right? And he's rooted. There's the artwork seems simple and it seems modern, but there's so much depth to this. Like, it's very approachable for the new tarot student, but at the same time, if you're someone like me who's been reading for way too long, there's a lot to pick up on, right? There's a lot hidden within the symbolism of these cards, which is just fantastic. I love this depiction of the devil, and instead of them being chained, right, they're sort of tied up with these vines from the trees, but they have the swords, right? So their ability to escape is still there, which is fantastic. And it's gorgeous, right? The inclusion of diverse body types and of people from all around the world. It's amazing, and it doesn't feel stereotypical, and it doesn't feel forced, and it feels great. I love this Judgment card so much. It's really great. The aces in this deck are gorgeous. I have an affinity for aces, but it's really beautiful, and it's really well done. And I think it's just one of those decks that will rapidly become a classic in the modern genre of tarot, which I think is great. The readings this gives me are fantastic. I've done a handful of readings over the past couple weeks with this, and each one is just really wonderful. And when I reference the book, it gives me just some really good nuggets and different ways of looking at the cards and the meanings behind the cards that I really appreciate, and it's helped me to kind of grow and learn new things as a tarot reader. And that's one of the things that I love about getting new decks, is getting these really cool new perspectives from new creators and writers about the cards, different ways to look at them and read them. So yeah, it's just a beautiful deck, and I'm very thankful to have it in my collection. It's definitely one that I will reach for. It's just warm. It's a very warm deck, which I really appreciate. The courts are just amazing. I adore the knights in this deck, especially the Knight of Cups on his fishy, which is just wonderful. I just think it's so great. There's so much character to this deck too. Beautiful Ace of Swords that I really like. It's so unique and so creative. The Five of Swords is really interesting with the leg and the hand, which has very clearly been separated. But there's a lot of really cool depictions in this. The Six of Swords is really interesting to me, how she's sort of like walking across the swords instead of being, shepherded across the waterway in a boat with the help of someone else. So there's some really cool little twists to the art and to the meanings that the creators have done. I adore the Seven of Swords. The the use of color in this is masterful, right? Each one of these cards is just a perfect, well, it's just an amazing exercise in art alone. The art is just exceptionally professional and really well done and thought out, which I really like. So yeah, I love the 8 of Swords being up on this pillar, and this expression on the 9 of Swords is just, yep, that's me when I wake up from anxiety in the middle of the night. That's my face. That's the face I make. So it's perfect. Great depiction of the 10 of Swords. It's modern, but still classical. I mean, it's such a beautiful deck that expresses both the light and the dark side of things, right? And that's really important to me in my practice, is that we are all made of light and dark, right? And when you're made of light and dark, that is the gray, that is the middle, right? It's not an on-off switch, right? There's a spectrum there to explore. And this deck really reflects that, not only in its diversity, right? But the symbols that they chose to use and how they chose to depict the cards in certain ways. So I really appreciated that. So I love this two of discs. So yeah, there's just some really wonderful things about this deck that really caught me off guard. And I was just kind of expecting a really nice modern deck, but there's just some really deep layers of meaning within these cards. So I would definitely recommend this deck. Definitely check it out. I love the 2 extra bonus cards, which are fantastic. And yeah, they're beautiful. The artwork in this deck is just beautiful. And it's not an art style that I'm typically drawn to, but this one is just so exceptionally well done that I needed to have it. So definitely check this out if you haven't. Again, there's links down in the description box to where you can pick it up. So be sure to check that out at the end of the video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. Be sure to click the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos or reviews. As always, I really appreciate each and every one of you coming to hang out and check out this deck with me. I hope all of you have an amazing day, and always remember that everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So be kind, always. Bye, everybody.